That would be who was playing guitar.
That is Blue.
That's Blue.
Yep.
Which is also probably Dr. Jerky because it's muted. Yeah, he's
Yes,
shaking his
Dr.
head. Yes.
Dr. Jekyll. Yep.
Oh, Dr. Jekyll. Oh, you're not muted. We just can't hear it. Okay.
Yeah, my mic doesn't pick it up unless it's like right here.
Well, let's hear some tunes while we get going. Like, can you play some like cool tavern type of shit while he introduces?
I can sing you. I can sing you music that's playing.
Please don't sing. Please don't sing.
Oh, no, I have to sing.
Yeah, reverse psychology works every time. Let's hear it.
Hold on. I need a good song though.
Some tavern.
Do you believe in love after love? Huh?
All right.
Are you out of vodka?
At Fred Meyer, every free
Well,
pickup
yeah,
order
listen to
is
ads.
packed with care,
sorry.
or we'll make it right.
Do you have Pandora?
Introducing Remarkable 2,
Yeah.
the paper
I can't. If you give me your
tablet.
email address, I'll add you to my
revolution.
premium family account. That
I'll
we
do
don't
that.
have to deal with
I'll do that
ads.
in a minute. Remind me. Send me a message about it.
I
They jam like I did when I was time, 'cause I like to pretend I had an awesome time. In nostalgia, though it tastes fine, I feel like life. We played Halo and Halo in our basement until the sun began to rise. And we drove so much it's hard to see when you got tired eyes. Days go by, the time it flies, because days are drink Kool-Aid in the summertime. Years go by, the time it flies, best days are drink Kool-Aid in the summertime.
Okay, sorry, I'm still matching up Discord names.
Alright, that's all you get for right now.
Bane, you're playing Milka.
I have an idea. If you right click your name, you can change your nickname and put in quotes what your
That might help.
name should be. Yeah.
In any case, here, this is one of your abilities, Nature's Intuition. Thanks to your mystical connection to nature, you gain proficiency with one of the following skills of your choice. Animal handling, medicine, nature, perception, stealth, or survival.
Perception.
Alright.
Thank you for doing this for me. So you're automatically updating the character sheet?
Yeah, this is a bit...
Oh, yeah. I
He's
figured.
doing my job because he's a nice guy.
Yeah. Thanks.
I like to help. No, I
really
just wish that I knew how to actually program it in, because they have... Like, they've done an absolutely astounding job with all of this. They just haven't added more of it. Alright, you are already proficient in perception, so pick any other skill that you would like to be proficient in.
Oh, give me a second. Let's see. So this is like acrobats, animal handling, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're going to go with.
It's possible.
I think. What does insight do? I forget.
Insight is usually for trying to tell if somebody's lying.
Nah.
Trying
Let's
to
go with.
understand something.
Let's go with history then.
Okay, I'm checking.
Oh no! My bad. I want to do athletics. I'm a turtle. I need athletics. Let's do that. 'Cause I ain't gonna be super acrobatic.
Okay, I actually just checked things. So you are proficient in a total of 5 skills.
Okay.
So, I think you already picked one last week. You want me to? I think you should be able to just change the skills if you click on them. So you should be allowed to do that.
Yes, I am.
Alright,
Yes,
so you
I
can
am.
go ahead and just mess around until there's 5 skills which I'll double check.
What does Arcana do?
Arcana is understanding magic.
Then
Alright, I got a 10.
I think I'll just keep it the way it is. Arcana, medicine, nature, perception, and survival. I think those are good. Oh, that sounds pretty. The whole 2 seconds I heard it. Was that a blue one?
He's a
Oh, that's a
two-pump
pretty.
chump.
That's a pretty guitar. I like that. Look at that guitar, babe. Check that out, babe. Oh, I'm sorry, babe. Look.
Babe,
That's pretty.
Babe, look. Babe, look.
Babe, look, babe. Nothing. I was just mimicking what he was saying. I'm sorry.
Alright, here. It was probably, you can hear him better. Cool. Now, here, how about this one? How about this one instead? Pick it up.
Okay, Bane, you are good to go with the portal wraith.
Thank you.
It will need to be up. If anything changes, we're going to need to update it because it won't just automatically adjust itself. But
Okay.
should have. So I gave you in your inventory you have a claws attack which you can use to make unarmed strikes.
Okay. Can I use my spores on my claws?
I think you can. Spores is your class feature.
Yeah. Circle spores.
Yeah, if it says you can use it on a melee weapon attack, then yes you can.
Okay. That's cool.
And it should deal slashing. There we go. Also, I gave you your ability Hold Breath. You can hold your breath for up to 1 hour.
Oh.
I gave you the natural armor, so your shell provides a base AC of 17, which is not affected by dexterity.
Nice. And then I also have that wooden shield, so my AC should be, what, 19?
Yeah, which is ridiculous at this level. But Nature's Intuition, you got an extra skill. And the last big thing is if you look under your features, you should have an action called Shell Defense. Which...
features? Shell Defense. Oh, I see it, okay. Oh, you can withdraw into your shells in action until you emerge. You gain +4 bonus to AC. You have advantage on strength and constitution saving throws. On your shell, you are prone, so they get advantage whenever they attack me. Your speed is 0, and you can't increase. You have disadvantage on dexterity saving throws. You can't take reactions. You can only take an action. The only action you can take is a bonus action to emerge from your shell. That wouldn't be bad. That would be cool, like if you did like a barbarian turtle. And you did like Berserk or whatever it's called, or I forget what it's called, but where you pull the aggro to everybody and then you just go into your fucking shell. That'd be pretty cool.
It's called Blue Shell, okay?
Blue Shell.
Alright.
I'm almost done with setting up this map.
Okay.
Don't even know if you guys will see it
Cody,
tonight, but...
You can take away my Game Master privileges. I'm done.
Yeah, I'll do that after.
Yep.
Okay. right, we're gonna get started. At least on the beginnings of stuff. All right, stream. Welcome to Embers to Ashes, a D&D campaign.
Dun dun dun.
Wait, where can we watch the
D&D
stream?
campaign.
You can watch the stream twitch.tv/impostergear.
Whoa, that sounds really cool. I might tune in.
Keep talking. I'm gonna play tavern music in the background.
I mean, you can try and play tavern music in the background. It cuts out a lot, though.
When I get my soundboard, I'll be able to do it.
That's cut out. Stupid Discord.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunate.
Fucking
I think Discord's anti background noise kicks in.
Mm-hmm. It does.
Lame.
All right. So, anyways, rehashing characters. Go ahead and describe your characters. We will start with Mr. Jekyll.
Of course, you start with me. Fuck, I don't even know where my character sheet is. Hold on.
Fine. We'll start with Sir Darthbane.
So, the summer before my story began, I was crushed by a magical construct, and I feared I was dead. Fortunately, the driver of this construct, a natural spirit, who put my shell back together using a combination of super spores and things he had laying around, which ended up giving me my spores ability. After realizing I had spores ability, I kind of dived into the circle of spores, and there you go.
Okay, describe your character. You don't need to describe backgrounds if you don't want to.
Oh, my character. My character is a circle of spores druid, a turtle, and he's pretty fucking cool. I've never played a druid class before. I've only played like supports and like mages, so it'll be interesting being kind of like on the front lines. Really interesting. I'm really interested to see how this character plays out. I've never had this many spells that I had access to before, so I'm excited to be a part of this team and see what happens.
I love you, but describe your character.
I did. He's old.
What does your character look like? Descriptions.
Oh, he looks like a turtle full of fungi. So my character looks like one of your... I guess he would closely resemble like a snapping turtle because of the way his beak is. He stands about 6'4". He has cracked shells that's held together by fungi. A cracked shell that's held together by fungi, and he has all sorts of fungus like shrooms, moss, and different types of mushrooms that give off like a radiant of spores off of his back. He walks around with a cane that is also infused with spores as well.
Nice. All right. Next, Dr. Jekyll.
Alright, so I'm playing a druid that just happened to be Circle of Spores.
Poser. I'm kidding.
Right? I am very small. I am like between 1.5 to 2 feet tall. I have greenish wings, red hair, and green eyes.
Whoa, that sounds cool. What are you?
Fairy.
A fairy.
All right. Louis.
I am Louis. I'm a
Hi, Louis.
satyr. Hi,
A what?
everyone. A satyr.
What's a stater?
You know, like the goat people?
Oh,
have goat.
that's cool.
Yeah, so picture the succubuses from Witcher 3.
Yeah.
Except probably not as sexy.
Oh, color me a
But still
dream.
goat legs and, you know, horns and everything. My blood type is AB. I don't know if it's positive or negative. Let's see. I am my character / I am an agnostic cleric blessed by Tritherion in some sort of ironic divine twist where the person who cares least about the gods is the one that's being blessed with their divine powers. So get that
Somebody has a
sweet-
destiny.
Yep, sweet cleric spellcasting. Describing my character. Let's see what they write down. His eyes are piercing, and the skin is where it should be.
Just half of that.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to start over.
No.
That's my character.
That sounds pretty cool.
Did you say his eyes are where they're supposed to be?
His eyes are piercing, and the skin is where it should be.
Oh, okay.
So what does piercing mean? Like
that
just the look that
1,000
he
yard
gives?
The deal, where like
What?
It's
1,000 yards there, where he like looks through you.
Gotcha. Okay.
He doesn't like look at you. He just kind of is focused on something else.
Like he's gazed off into the distance.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds pretty cool.
all right. And lastly, Ronan.
All right. So let me tell you what you would know about this healer who joined your party. Her name is Maureen Illuminae. She's a rather reclusive priestess who was added to your group a few days after the initial teams had been set for this training. Apparently there were some sort of irregularities. You don't know, you probably did not care that much. Supposedly she was a part of the church prior to this, and just recently, like a month or two ago, was exiled on rather dubious charges. Despite registering for this training course as an elf, over 250 years of age, Maureen is apparently an Asimar, with silver hair and skin so pale that it's almost like she's an albino.
What's
She keeps her
what's
hood
an
down.
Ahamar?
Asimar are descended from celestials and angels.
Think about tiefling, but a divine type rather than.
It's anti-tiefling. You put it together with a tiefling and you get an explosion.
So don't let that thing mate with a tiefling.
I'll keep that in mind.
Maureen keeps her hood down when she can, so you haven't gotten a great look at her face. She uses divine magic, which seems largely based around light, but somehow that light casts shadows, which are all the blacker for the illumination. During training, she's overreacted to other people's injuries at least once, and in general seems rather stressed, but determined to be a thief.
So overreact how so?
Too much concern.
Gotcha. Okay. Cares a lot.
Treating injuries as worse than they actually, assuming that injuries are worse than they actually are.
Okay. That's a good description. Thank you.
And her familiar seems to be a cloud of grayscale butterflies that follows her around and occasionally turns invisible, which is rather concerning.
The more you know.
Columbuses. How'd they do it?
Do not be concerned. Do not be concerned over the invisible cloud of blood-sucking butterflies.
Like they're blood-sucking butterflies?
Did I say blood-sucking?
Sounded like it.
Yeah.
You probably imagined that. They're just normal butterflies, which
Normal
turn invisible.
Grayscale butterflies.
Yes.
Okay.
Awesome. All right, so as you guys have all know, you have just. Oh, neat.
Butterflies. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just thinking about a anime that reminds me of called Busho Rankin. Anyways, it's good anime. If you like anime, you should watch it. So
Are you a paid spokesman?
that is negative gold leader.
Roger that red one.
Anyway, so as you guys all know, you've just recently graduated from the training school, and that really it means more along the lines that you are now free to come and go. It gives you a little bit more freedom. It also unlocks all the capabilities and access to the Adventurer's Hall.
Oh.
One of the big changes that I made as I have been working on building the world is the location of where everything is at. So, as we know, there's the tower spire, the giant peak in the middle of the city.
On top of the mountain.
Or roughly in the middle of the city. That's, give or take, 5,000 feet into the air. About 2,500 feet below that, it starts the rest of the mountain, which is kind of like, looks like the other half had been sheared off and then allowed to crumble to the ground. And so as it crumbled to the ground, it kind of makes this slope. As the slope heads down, fairly steep, but still a lot easier to traverse than the sheer cliffs everywhere around it. But as that slope shears down, at the very bottom of the base is kind of a crescent moon location. And in this spot is where the 5 main buildings are, which is the Ashen Hall, the Ember Academy, the Bluestone Library, the Temple of the 5 Dawns, and the Silvered Core. Around the temple, which sits in the middle of the clearing, around that is the Moonlit Gardens. I don't remember what I called them, but is the gardens that are very, very well visited by not only Druids, which mostly exist there for like the big different areas. Like there's a bunch of like hedges and bushes and like different various activities and whatnot. Mostly the back portion towards the north side of things is where a lot of the activities present. And I have the picture done on drawing. I just haven't scanned it yet, and I'll have to get that next week. Anyways, so the gardens kind of float around the Temple of the 5 Dawns. And they also encompass all around the other 4 buildings. Above that, if we're looking at a map with north, south, east, and west, etc., above the Temple of the 5 Dawns to kind of a north, I think it's northeasternly direction, is the Bluestone Library, which has a double set run of stairs that run around it and a giant blue crystal that hovers in the center of it. And the giant blue crystal pulses with a faint blue light. Nobody really knows what it does. They just know that nobody can approach it. Nobody's been able to touch it. Behind that is the actual library itself, which consists of 4 levels. 4 above ground, 3 above ground, 1 below. It also sets into the cliff face behind it as the sides of the slope rise up around. To the left of the Temple of the 5 Dawns is the Ember Academy. This consists of a 8 giant tower structure with walls that encompass it, making 2 squares that are offset by each other by 90 degrees. This is like all of these buildings are massive buildings. Like, think about 4 or 5 of the World Trade Centers, and they're about that size. So giant peaks that raise into the sky. To the right is the Ashen Hall, which is also a massive structure, but it's a little bit more traditional and square. Still very delicate in its construction and very prestigious in the way that it appears. And in front of the Temple of the 5 Dawns is the Silver Core, which insets up against... It's basically like a giant campus that brushes up against the wall that leads around the front entrance of this sloped hill. On either side of the slope is sheer cliffs The only portion that allows you to really access any of the hill is that in the front, which are 2 gates, which are on either side of the silver core. 2 fairly massive roads start to lead up each of the slopes, each of the crescent moon portions. There is a smaller path that leads to the Temple of the Five Dawns, but these were never meant, like, there's never really carts or anything that go into this area. It's mostly citizens who have free time or other such things, as well as members of the various organizations there. At the top of the sloped hill are 2 fairly massive elevators. Massive, they are roughly 4 carts wide and 5 carts long, and they sit side by side. There is no known understanding of how they work. It is just assumed that there's a magic switch that has been built into them that allows them to lift up and down, and they go up to the massive fortress up above.
How are they powered?
You don't know.
Okay.
Everybody just assumes that it's magic because, magic exists.
Alright.
This city, magic is alive. It tingles on your skin with how much magic there is in the world. And it's something that everybody's kind of gotten used to. So it's not like it's a surprise or anything like that. But magic is very, very prevalent, especially with the amount that's going off into the fires in the north. You all, like I said, have graduated from the major training portion.
Good.
And this consists of roughly 6 months of training. And then you guys have been set in teams and various different teams and different activities. But your final team was set roughly about half a month ago. And then during this, there was a week-long trial as teams got situated and people figured out how, they worked together, and some shuffling got shuffled around. One of your members got pulled, and a strange elf what was registered as an elf in the training pamphlet was assigned to your team. As well as a silvered-haired boy. His name is Silver. He is fairly quiet.
Is it because he has silver hair?
Maybe. Anyways, he is fairly quiet and keeps to himself, but he's definitely a hard worker and helps out the party in the past week of training. You guys have all been together for roughly 2 weeks by now and learning how things work. You are now allowed to start working outside of the city. You guys all know maps are kind of useless, but those who know how to traverse the wooded lands are highly valued. And that's kind of what Silver is there for.
He's a guide.
He's not really a guide. He's still
He
a
just
part of
knows
the
the
team,
land.
but he knows how to track and hunt very well. He works with a longbow and arrows. Though the bow itself is slightly magical in that he can create arrows out of thin air, made entirely of the ambient magic around the facility or around the air. And he does so fairly good and fairly well. Everybody didn't really expect druids to make it through the training. Oftentimes druids tend to not. They're probably one of the rarest of the classes. They tend to be more aloof in their nature. But it's not unheard of. So they also, even though that they might have tracking and skills through the forest, they decided it was a good idea to have a ranger along just in case. So, you guys are at one of the taverns along the northwestern border of the city.
What does the Ventures Guild offer?
Access to the Bluestone Library, for one, as well as a lot like you don't have to pay for boarding and housing at any of the hotel or the taverns and whatnot.
Okay.
So
Does it
perks
offer, like bounties or anything like that?
The big thing is if you bring back, there are huge bounties in place. You get a stipend of roughly 100 gold every month.
A piece?
Okay,
A piece.
I'm assuming that's a lot.
It's a lot in terms of most jobs because you're getting 100 gold pieces, whereas most people get 100 copper or several silver for the work they do around the city.
What?
And we
is
get
our-
that gold regardless of
Yes.
what we do?
Yes.
Okay.
Being a part of the Adventurers Guild, you get that gold.
Okay.
So, we never rolled starting gold or anything.
Did you get equipment?
Yep. When you create your character, you can either pick starting equipment or roll for gold and then use that to buy equipment. So I think everybody just took the equipment. It's a lot simpler.
I didn't realize that was an option.
Well, it's easier to just roll with the stuff that they provide.
It's not nearly enough gold. You can't roll enough gold to get anything in this.
Gotcha. I do have 5 gold. I think that whenever I did my equipment stuff, because I know I didn't have that myself.
Just to make it straight up, all of you have 10 gold on your persons.
Okay.
And that is what you amongst all of your starting equipment.
So 1 platinum. Are we dealing with platinum or?
Nobody uses platinum.
Okay.
No, nobody uses whatever that shit is between silver and gold.
Electrum?
Electrum.
Nobody uses that. It's if you use that, people will shun you.
Oh shit.
Electrum is trash. Electrum, to be fair though, Electrum is in the world. It is a metal that is used. It's just not currency. Because the currency system in D&D for Electrum is stupid and I don't like it. Platinum is a thing in terms of currency. However, the chances of you seeing platinum is very rare. Because most of the merchants have various banks and goods around, and you don't keep the money for long enough to really get that far. And very few people outside of the merchant kings themselves actually run with platinum. It's just kind of a useless thing when gold does much better. Gold, silver, and copper pieces. Now, commerce in the city is fairly straightforward. It is a thing. It's just not as relevant. There are a lot of people who trade in favors or goods. What can you provide me for the provision that I'm giving you, kind of thing. Which is kind of where the Adventurers Guild comes in. The gold is just for really the gold that you get is just for magic weapons and magic items that are produced by the various smithies in the city, or the trading centers or whatnot. Because for the most part, everywhere you go, you get, which is why everybody likes being an adventurer so much, is you typically get free room and board any place that you need to stay. There are various guild bunkhouses spread out. Not taverns. I said taverns before. I meant bunkhouses. There are various bunkhouses that are spread out that house 100 or so members. And those are kind of like you can go in, you get a cot where you want it, you're good. Everybody has different various storages of where like their stuff goes. How the system works is each member is offered a container in which to store their goods. These are set magical inlaid devices that cannot be broken into very easily. Not to say that it's not impossible, but also when it comes to thievery in the city, it's not as prevalent because of the state of the world, the state of the city, and all that's going around. The orphans are fairly well taken care of. Oh, what's a light fell out? Hold on a second.
GG.
It's so dark.
No, go lay down. Go lay down. Anyways, so thievery is not prevalent in the city. Orphans are taken care of, and any kind of theft is basically removing from the ability for the city to defend itself. So for the most part, everybody has taken great pains to remove the potential or the reasons behind that. Just as it's very unlikely to see any kind of corrupt officials, just because it just doesn't happen. Anytime that somebody thinks they get an idea, they're typically brought down very quickly before they can ever get any kind of footing that would make a potential breach in the city's defenses. So it's just not, super common. There are houses and whatnot. Most of the places where residents live are apartment style buildings, not single dwellings outside of the farms and the farming communities. And even those tend to be more longhouse style, where they have like one big building and then it's broken up into multiple little sections. Just because space is kind of premium. There's 1.5 million individuals who live in the city. That a rough estimate of the amount of people here. And so, housing all of that in such a small area, it kind of keeps things up. Think of Japan when you think of the city. There are a lot of mages that do work that allow for a lot of the buildings to exist. There are even some places in the merchants' quarters that have basically dimensional spaces inside their houses, where the inside of the shop or stall is much larger than the space outside. Basically saying is the citizens have adapted to the lack of a lot of space, and they have made it work. So you guys have currently a spot, like every adventure is kind of really set a location where of a bunkhouse that they use. And attached to that bunkhouse is the quote-unquote treasury of each of those bunkhouses, where all the equipment is stored and all the stuff that is available. Offshoot of that is the armory that gets used, where adventurers, if they need to get equipment or gear, can go get that equipment or gear. Typically that stuff is other items that other guild members have brought in and donated to the guild, or various factions or various heroes or whatnot have donated to the guild. Though it tends to be rather poor or shoddy equipment. Sometimes they're magical, but magical items and weaponry tend to be a premium, and those typically get sold to merchants so they can get other magical gear that would be more beneficial to them. The system is not a selfish one, but there is some selfish mentality because, you know, each person is depending on the stuff that they have in order to survive out in the wilds. Even with all the perks of being an adventurer, though, even with all of the perks, there still are not a lot of adventurers in comparison. Maybe 1,000 or 2,000 of the individuals in the city are adventurers out of 1.5 mil. So a very small fraction. There are various guard groupings, roughly 9 of them. One for each of the cardinal directions. So one group that works the northern section of the wall, one for the northeastern section of the wall, one for the western section of the wall, etc. Each is run by its own guard captain. Then there is a guard that patrols the outer city, which is all of that around the spire and the tower, the mountain, around the mountain in the center. And then there's one that runs the inner, which is all behind the walls and up the mountain cliff. And then there's one for each of the islands that runs the guard that works those. So you guys are now free to do as you please. There is a lieutenant or a sergeant, basically, in which is the kind of overarching in charge of your group. He's in charge of multiple, up to 5 individuals of the group. And so he's the one that you would go to if you have anything. But he is who you report to when you come back. He is who you report to when you leave. Or let them know where you're going, because they do try and keep track as much as possible. It doesn't necessarily, when you leave, you don't necessarily have to see your sergeant all the time. You can just have a messenger, which is another group in the city that used to be an offshoot of the guards. However, they have become a power of their own right with how important messages are because of how big the wall is. But it's fairly easy to get a messenger to send a message to the sergeant. What are you going to do?
So we're all together right now?
Yes.
We're in a tavern, right?
You guys are, well, yeah, you're in a tavern that's hooked up to the guard or the bunkhouse that has been basically assigned to your bunkhouses. Like I said, you don't have your own bunks. You just go in and take a cot when you need one.
But we do have our own chests.
But you have your own chests, yeah.
Are they in a is there like a chest room?
Yes, it's an offshoot of the main room. And it is a dimensional space where all the chests are put.
Okay.
So I think last time you said that our instructor was named Arlene Aidens.
Yes, your instructor is Arlene Aidens.
Can I get in contact with them right now? Or did our relationship end when we had our quote-unquote graduation?
Your relationship ended, though she may sometimes, depending on where you plan on going or what you plan on doing, she may join the group. However, instructors are even more, or even less numerous than there are sergeants. So her time is valuable. So she visits to make sure that you're keeping up with your training, etc., etc.
Well, if the rest of the group is, I guess I should confer with my allies. I think we've we've done this training. We have accomplished this. There's no use in us sitting around. Let us find our sergeant, whose name escapes me, and ask where our efforts might be directed.
I like it.
Yep, I like that too.
Okay. Do we know? And I'm sorry if I think I missed if you said our sergeant's name, but do we know where he is?
He's probably
Is she-
in the main bunk shack attached to the building. So there's the bunkhouse, which is where all the members typically sleep. There is a tavern that hooks up on the side that help provide ale and stuff to adventurers. And then there is like the main administration hall that's attached on the other side. With the that is also conjoined with the main bunkhouse by the quote unquote chest room. That's totally not a mimic.
Totally not a mimic. We definitely do not breed them in this city. Those three. Okay. But Maureen is going to walk up to the sergeant, wait respectfully if he's busy. But once she has the sergeant's attention, she says, "I ask that you direct my light that I might serve the city of Embers."
Do the job that you have been training for.
Is that what they say to us?
Is the job that we were trained for adventuring?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
Do you have a preference as to where we venture?
All right, so some knowledge for you guys. So being a part of the Adventurers Guild, you are your own people. You get to make your decisions on where you want to go. You are expected to venture out into the woods, which is the whole point of the Adventurers group. But basically, your goal is to venture out and find new artifacts, find history of the past, because they want to know, like, the big things is what's going on with the city, why are we here, where did we come from, because these are things that nobody knows. All they know is a giant ass city, and there's two entities trying to engulf the entirety of the land.
So as of right now, we have no more real training missions left. They're expecting us to decide where we're going for ourselves, and
Yes.
there also aren't any requests to investigate a certain area or.
No, you guys don't know of any areas.
I have an idea. Well, why don't we go to the bounty board and ask Silver if he's familiar with any of the creatures on that board, and start by that.
There is the bounty board is more of like, what are items or things that people are requesting. It's not like one where you go up and you're like, oh, go take and kill these hounds that are plaguing one of the farms or whatnot.
Isn't that the point
It's
of the bounty
more
board?
of, well, no, it's not entirely. The whole point is like, it's a bounty board for what do people need. So the various artisans, the crafters of the city do require materials. So a lot of times they'll put up bounties on the bounty board for goods that they need. So like one smith might need iron. Typically these are places where it's recurring. So it's like you look up like, oh, who needs iron today, or who's paying kind of the best price for iron. And that's what you could find on the bounty board. There are some, like fields sometimes get infested with giant rats, and sometimes you have to take care of that. But those are typically more along the lines of the adventurers to be, the ones who are training. These are the types
Gotcha.
that you have
They
been
keep
on the
them-
last 6 months.
They keep them in the city to do stuff.
Yes,
Versus
yep.
what we do, all the bounties that are required
Yes.
are outside of the city.
Yep.
Okay.
And so like the bounties aren't for like creatures or goods or whatnot that people know about, because the thing is adventurers may go out and another adventure group may follow them, and they may end up on opposite sides of the city when they come back in. That's the whole nature of the entities is largely unknown, and it's almost like they're labyrinths of their own right. Just because it's super easy to get lost. It's super easy to not find your way. It's very rare that an adventuring party will leave through one gate and enter back through that same gate.
Because they get lost.
Well, it's not lost, but it's more of like when you're sure of a path that you have taken before, and the literal forest moves and thrives because they are living entities in their own right, the path changes. So even if you are walking in the exact same way, you come back to the city and you're already at a different location because somewhere it was different.
Okay.
Anyway, to the west gate. Right?
You guys are in the northwestern portion of the city.
Well, didn't somebody say that we should head to the west gate?
All right, let's go to the nearest gate.
So probably the north gate then?
I am eager to leave the city.
Is Silver familiar with a certain exit more so than others?
No.
Or is he pretty well rounded?
Pretty well rounded.
Okay.
Silver's with us the entire time, right?
Yes.
is he
Yes,
like
he is part of your team.
Okay.
He is a team member.
And he's a kid?
Yeah. Oh, a kid, I mean, relative. He's 19.
Fucking kid.
How old am I? Just a few years older than him.
Yeah, same. Totally same.
Yeah. Fucking kid.
Yeah, only 30 years old.
Speaking of somebody who's 287, all of you are children.
Nice. I wish. I mean, one of my other characters is.
Well, hey, before we head out,
300.
let's just go take a look at the bounty board. So if we do see anything while we're out there, we'll know, like, okay, like, for instance, like, if they don't really need iron right now, there's no sense in carrying fucking iron. You know what I mean? It's like, if we do see something...
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well,
I think our first,
so...
this is going to be our first time out. It's going to be experience to see if we just die instantly.
So, just so you know, like, anything you collect out in the woods is typically something that would be accepted.
Okay. Fuck it, full send. Let's go.
So, like, going out with stuff, coming back with stuff, no matter what it is, you'll be able to most likely get it sold or whatnot.
Okay.
Alright, let's go. Start head to the closest gate.
Which
Okay.
is? Which
The
gate are we
northwestern.
closest to?
One of the northwestern sides. There's a bunch of gates.
Yeah, I figured that much. So there's like one at like every like north, south, east, west, and everyone in between.
Yes, there's a major gate at each of the cardinal directions,
And then minor gates. In
and then
between.
there's minor gates in between.
Makes sense. I like it.
Just
I love
remember
it.
that, like, the whole gate area, or the whole walled area, the walls are 300 feet high and made of solid stone. And
Saying there's a chance to climb over it.
Or you can just go through the gate. But yeah, you totally could.
you're not climbing over it unless you're a very good climber, and you have to like make some extreme checks because it's difficult.
The entire time.
Every 5 feet.
Yeah.
Alright. so we're heading that way.
Okay. So you guys head out. What are you heading towards, a main gate or a side gate? Typically, the side
Which one's
gates
closer?
are probably main gate.
Okay. Typically, the side gates are what?
The side gates tend to be more along the lines of guard use for getting people in and out.
Gotcha.
That's why there's so much of them.
Yep.
But the main gates or whatnot, they're at each of the main cardinals, which are locations of where barracks, the bunk racks are located.
Whenever
at.
you go out, do they keep a tally of who left?
Yes.
And inform the other guards?
Well, sort of. So there's like it's basically like a magical tome, and they basically put in, and it's connected to all of the guard stations throughout all of the gates. At least all of the main cardinal directions that they sign you in and out of, and so that gets populated throughout all of them across.
Does it do it instantaneously, or is it like...
Yeah, it's fairly instantaneously, as long as anybody has known.
Okay.
It's really hard to tell how instant it is because, somebody on the other side of the city versus in front.
Gotcha.
Nova,
The thing's
I
back.
love you. I love you. Yes.
God damn it! This thing is hard as fuck to get. Anybody
right.
else trying to jump with me in the chat?
It's because of stream
Stream lag.
yeah.
Fucking
right.
bullshit.
Anyways, so you guys head out. Guards at the door or whatnot. You sign out, and you are left free. You'll be walking into the northwestern area. Hold on a second.
I need the map. The map.
I need my notes. I need my notes. All right, so up here. All right, so yeah. So you head out the gate. You are in the wooded section and not the jungle section, because the woods are the north side and the jungle is to the south.
What's the difference between the two?
Types. Think of the difference between a jungle and a forest. The jungle's going to be tends to be wetter, more boggy.
She said.
Okay.
Whereas the woods tends to not be as much so, but look up if you want to know the real difference. Look up the rainforest and what that kind of looks like.
Gotcha.
Where's the map?
I don't have a map up yet. I'm sorry.
No, you sent us a map.
I didn't send you a map.
Yeah.
Or did he?
There's a picture of the general outline of your world.
But he
It's somewhere.
did some changes.
No, not in text form. It's like an actual picture. I've seen it.
I think
to
you
figure out
were
where
watching it
it's
on
supposed to
stream when I was working on it in Photoshop. If you want the real map, here's it on stream. But it's kind of hard to see it.
Interesting. Why are there ships?
We don't know yet.
This
Bum, bum, bum.
this is the tower. I
Is that
should
like
probably
a side view?
no.
Are you showing this on stream?
Yeah, I'm
Is that
showing you on
top
stream.
view?
Oh,
you guys will
camera.
get it
I was
later,
looking at the
but
wrong thing.
Is that a top-down view?
yes, it's a top-down view. That's the tower, the big rocky mountain in the middle.
Like, is it like actual top-down view, or is it like looking down at it?
It's an actual top-down view.
I don't get it.
Don't worry about it. I'll have it
Neither here nor there.
colored.
That's
So,
neither here nor there.
anyways.
I started
anyways.
blasting.
So, you guys,
sorry.
as you're walking out through, on either side of the road that runs out, you see the giant fires that just keep burning. The fires that the city is known for. As they
Far
just
away,
eat
aren't they?
away at the vegetation that keeps trying to penetrate and keeps eating and growing at such a rapid rate that it's ridiculous at how these fires have kept going for hundreds of years.
Okay.
A section, as you are making your way out, one of the mages, part of the guard that's near you, nods toward you and says, "Get ready." As you ready yourselves, he opens a small hole in the fire, the inferno before you, allowing you to make your way out into the woods.
How does he open it?
Magic.
Okay.
He puts his hands together and pulls them apart, and a small opening, enough for a wagon to fit through, allows you free.
Are there
Okay,
any
so-
tunnels, like through the ground, which lead underneath the fire?
No, there's not. They have
Like,
tried that.
advance-
They have tried that time and time again. However, the vegetation just grows in through the tunnel, and they have to seal it off quickly before it can take foot inside the city.
That's why there's no tunnels.
We advance through the opening into the great unknown.
Yep.
Okay. As soon as you guys make your way past and you're walking through, you can feel the heat from the Inferno. This is normal. This is what you guys have experienced this before when you've had training out in the woods or so. Though all of those training sessions have never really left you more than 100 or so paces away from the fires. But they wanted to give you kind of an idea. However, it's super, super hot. Like, you can feel the heat as you're roasting.
Okay. Gross.
But it's fairly lessened in comparison to what, like, standing next to an actual fire this big, like, you would be sweating and burning. But it's definitely muted in comparison to that. So
Okay.
as you make your way out, you get about 10 or so paces away from the fire. The door starts to close again. And you are now out in the woods. It is roughly early morning, or well, mid-morning, more mid-morning. So you can see the sun in the sky. Not that the sun location really matters once you penetrate the forests. But most of the light still flickering on the shadows inside the woods as it creeps up comes from the fire on either side. And just know, like, the fire is like 100 feet wide. So it takes a little while to pass through it, of course.
Okay.
But you get out there, and right before you is the woods as the path continues on into them.
So there's an actual path into the woods that's been traveled.
Sort of. It's a path that leads up to the woods. There's really no true path through the woods.
Gotcha.
There are various, like, and nobody's really sure on how it works because they don't see wildlife very often from the walls or anything. But there are various deer and other animal trails that people follow, and that's typically the only path that you get in either of the entities.
Okay.
So do you head in?
Hell yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
So as you walk, the trees start to close around you. You slowly make your way in through, and the fire behind you starts to dim softer and softer until finally it winks out and you're left out in the woods. There is some light that reaches the ground. It's not heavily muted. The jungle tends to be a little more muted in terms of light that reaches through, and it's kind of a dusky feeling. But this, in the wooden side, it feels fairly open. There are trees, massive trees that sit 390 feet tall as they loom over you on other sides. It's like walking through the redwood forest is the best way to describe this. Huge trunks on either side of these old trees. Trees that see nothing or that have no comparison at all in the time of their age. They are thousands of years old.
What's the foliage look like?
Friends, pray hold for just 1 minute that I might cast a spell.
The foliage is what you expect. There's bushes and branches and leaves all over the place. Most of the canopy and the branches that branch off from the big trunks are well above your heads. So there's not as many like sticks that stick out in the way of the walking or whatnot.
Okay.
But there are various bushes, shrubs, small trees that are starting their growth that appear to not have gotten enough, like they can't get enough light. Not that matters as much out here.
What spell did you want
Maureen's-
to cast?
Maureen has just finished casting her spell, and she's briefly surrounded by a pale light, which coalesces into more swarms of butterflies, which then spread out. So I have just temporarily summoned 2 extra familiars, and I was going to have all 3 of the familiars I have for the next hour just form a perimeter around us at a distance of maybe 500 feet to try and give us extra warning if anything is coming for us.
Okay.
I
500
am able
feet.
to.
You should still fairly be able to see things around. So yeah, so they can still be in sight for the most part.
Yes, so I can telepathically see what they see and hear what they hear as long as they remain within 1 mile.
Okay.
All right. So those butterflies are glowing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The glow from the butterfly's light is not at all overpowering the sunlight reaching the ground.
Oh, definitely not.
Like I said, this area, the wooden entity or the entity of the thicket is fairly wood-like, and you walk through, like the canopy covers a lot of the sun, so you don't have bright overhead, but it's kind of like a cloudy day. That's what's going on. You can still see fairly clearly. It's not considered dim light at all. You can still see enough fairly clearly, up to roughly 200-300 feet away. Then things start to get a little bit more difficult just from the amount of shrubbery and amount of vegetation that's around. And you can see, up to 600-700 feet away, with difficulty, but it's not like it requires anything crazy. And that's just because of the amount of vegetation that's around.
Okay, before I forget, let's just do a roll call. Who here has dark vision? I have dark vision.
I do not. I
Um,
don't believe I do.
Where would that be?
It would be under senses on the first part of your character.
Okay. I do not have dark vision, but I do have light. As a cantrip, so I can keep casting it.
Am I the only one who can see in the dark?
I think you're the only one who has dark vision.
What's it
Oh, that
under?
never happens. Senses.
Bane is a turtle. Turtles don't have dark vision.
Yeah, well, I
Jekyll
don't see senses. Where is senses at?
should be under your character sheet. Under everything that says senses.
Oh,
By
on the
size
name.
and
Oh, okay.
languages.
On the attributes.